as part of the planning review process to inform the public when the municipality has received an application that may be of community interest. So the planning staff can explain all the policies under which council is going to make their decision or consider this application and the criteria used to evaluate the proposal. No evaluations or decisions have been made at this point. And the information meeting also gives the applicant a chance to present the proposal directly to those that are interested and allows neighbors to ask questions or make comments. So at this point, I've already introduced myself. There's usually other councillors in our meeting, but the planning advisories committee members in attendance are, it says planning advisory committee member.
Just you.
Just me. Okay, that's me again. You're stuck with this. This is a June show. And the planning staff that we have in attendance with us tonight is Katie Ullman, and she's going to be presenting, and Laura Mosier, and she is the manager of planning and development services. The applicant today is John McCarty and Lisa Law. We have John with us today. And if you would just take it away, Katie, that'd be great.
Thank you, Councillor Granger. So tonight we're having a public information meeting for a development agreement application for 1441 Church Street, PID 55037-188, which is the Planters Ridge Winery in Port Williams. So Councillor Granger did go over the agenda with you. So she did the introduction, I'll do the presentation, then there'll be time for questions or comments, and then Councillor Granger will adjourn the meeting. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to inform the public about the application, to explain our planning policies that enable this application to occur, and to receive any preliminary feedback. At this point, no opinions have been formed on this application and no decisions will be made this evening. So for the development agreement process, right now we are at the public information meeting stage. The next stage would be a staff review where staff takes the application and compares it to policy to make sure it fits within the policies and objectives of the municipality. Once that is complete, a report is created for the Planning Advisory Committee. If a recommendation is given, it would go to first reading, and then council would decide if it would be going to public hearing. If it goes to public hearing, members of the public will be notified again, just like they were for this meeting. And then directly following the public hearing, if it is successful, it would get a second reading, and then there would be a 14-day appeal period. So all property owners within 500 feet were notified for this application and for this public information meeting, and it would be the same for the public hearing. And this was also advertised in the local newspaper, as with the public hearing, if it gets to a public hearing. So this is the approximate location of the application for the development agreement. And this is the subject property located on Church Street. The property is zoned A1, which is agricultural. And under the A1 zoning, restaurants and event venues must be done through a development agreement. So they're not something that are permitted as of right within the A1 or agricultural zone. Now, as you can see from the future land use map, it is designated also as an agricultural designation. Oops. It won't let me go back. It won't let me go back. No. It's okay. Okay. So for the proposal, what the applicants are looking to do is using their existing space, they want to be able to have a restaurant. So they would use this existing the existing kitchen space, their seating area inside, and then their decks outside. And they're looking to increase their commercial square footage by about 700 feet, located downstairs of the winery, to have a tasting area. And then they also want to be able to have an event venue to host things like weddings. So this is the access to the property here and some of the parking. This is the kitchen area. This first photo here would be where the tasting area would be. And then this is the interior dining room. So the policy that enables this, 3.4.15, consider only by development agreement proposals for event venues or restaurants to be developed within the agricultural zone. So within the agricultural designation, one of the economic objectives is to provide a flexible regulatory environment that accommodates innovation, agribusiness, value-added agriculture, and agritainment. And in the event that there would be any conflict between agricultural and non-agricultural use, agriculture always takes priority within the agricultural A1 zone. So development agreements, council shall consider proposals to enter into development agreements, and a development agreement shall specify the development, expansion, alteration, or change permitted, and specify the conditions under which the development may occur. For the general criteria, council shall be satisfied that a proposal to amend the land use bylaw or enter into a development agreement is consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy, including the vision statements, relevant goals, objectives, and policies, and any applicable goals, objectives, and policies contained within any secondary plan. And B, it is not a conflict with any municipal or provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations in effect in the municipality. For C, the general criteria, so something that is looked at when we're evaluating a development agreement is making sure that there are no costs to the municipality, looking at the land use compatibility with surrounding land uses, adequacy and proximity to schools and recreation, the potential for traffic hazards or congestion, the adequacy of fire protection services and equipment, adequacy of water and sewer, and any flooding potentials. Some of the other things we look at are impacts on well fields and groundwater supplies, pollution, soil erosion, and siltation of watercourses, the impacts it could have on lake water quality or nearby wetlands, and the overall site suitability. So looking at the grades, the geologic conditions, soils, if there's any marshes or swamps, and also the proximity to utility right-of-ways. So a development agreement, council shall establish controls that may be needed to adequately address the concerns raised by the criteria set out in policy 5.3.7. So some of the controls include, but are not limited to, the types of uses permitted. So the location, height, bulk, and lot coverage of buildings, access to the property and parking requirements, signs and lighting, and hours of operation. So just again to reiterate, this is where we are for the development agreement process. We are at the public information meeting. As I said earlier, property owners within 500 feet were notified. And what happens after this is there will be a staff review where we will send out referrals to applicable agencies and get their comments on this application, and then also review this application against our planning policies. So if anyone wants to reach out and contact me, if you have any questions, I can be reached at 902-690-6173 or KOLLMANN@countyofkings.ca. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. So now it's time for discussion and questions.